Rain hammered the windshield. Sofia Morales gripped the steering wheel tighter, her lower back aching in a way that had become constant these last few weeks. 7 months pregnant and still driving for fares past midnight. Not exactly what the parenting books recommended. But rent didn't negotiate. Neither did the electric company. She checked the app one more time. Just one more ride. Then she could collapse into bed, prop her swollen feet on that lumpy pillow, and try to sleep through the baby's acrobatics. The request popped up. Priority pickup at the Meridian Tower Hotel, the kind of place where doormen wore white gloves and the lobby smelled like imported orchids. Sofia exhaled slowly, tapped accept. Rich clients tipped better, sometimes. Her cramped studio apartment sat wedged between a laundromat and a bodega on the city's forgotten edge. During the day, she waited tables at Marco's Diner, her maternity apron barely concealing what everyone already whispered about behind the coffee station. At night, she drove strangers through rain-slicked streets, each shift adding another small buffer between her and complete catastrophe. The baby kicked, hard. "I know," she whispered, one hand briefly leaving the wheel to rest on her belly. "I'm tired too." She pulled up to the hotel's glowing entrance. Couples in evening wear clustered under the awning, champagne bright and careless. Her eyes found him almost immediately. Tall, disheveled, bow tie hanging loose like a broken promise. He stood apart from the crowd, staring at nothing, a glass dangling from his fingers. She checked the name. Ethan V. "You Ethan?" she called through the cracked window. He looked over. His eyes were red-rimmed, but something sharp still lived behind them. Without answering, he slid into the back seat and shut the door harder than necessary. "Just take me home," he muttered. Sofia nodded. The app already had the destination, some address high in the hills where people probably had heated bathroom floors and wine cellars. They drove in silence. City lights streaked past, distorted by rain. Then he spoke. "Do you ever feel like you're drowning in people who don't actually see you?" Sofia glanced in the rearview mirror. "Every single day." He waited. "I drive strangers," she continued. "Most don't even look at me, but I show up anyway because this baby," she gestured at her belly, "needs a chance at something better than what I had. When are you due?" 2 months, give or take." He leaned his head against the window. "That's brave. Doing this alone." She almost laughed. "Brave or stupid? Some days I can't tell the difference." "What happened to the father?" The question didn't sting anymore. Not really. "Left when I told him," Sofia said simply. "Said he wasn't ready. Funny thing is, neither was I, but one of us stayed." Ethan was quiet for a long moment. "That takes a different kind of strength." She studied him in the expensive suit, probably cost more than her monthly rent, but wearing exhaustion like a second skin. "You look like someone who has everything," she said. "Why do you seem so empty?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was barely audible over the rain. "Because I do have everything, and it still doesn't fill anything that matters." When they reached the gates of a house that looked more like a museum than a home, Sofia stopped the car. She turned around. He was asleep, mouth slightly open, one arm across his chest, completely gone. She hesitated. The smart thing would be to wake him, collect her fare, move on. Instead, she reached behind her seat and grabbed the oversized cardigan she kept for when the heater died. Gently, she draped it over him. Then she stepped into the rain, walked to the intercom, and pressed the button. "Yes?" A crisp, formal voice. "I brought Mr. Vaughn home. He's asleep in the car. Could someone help him inside?" "Right away." A man in a dark suit appeared moments later with an umbrella. Sofia opened the door carefully. "He's okay," she said. "Just exhausted." The man nodded, helped Ethan out with practiced efficiency. They disappeared into the warmth of the house. Sofia slid back behind the wheel, rain soaking through her thin jacket, and drove into the night. She never asked who he was, didn't care about his last name or what he did for a living. To her, he was just another person trying to make it through one more day. Sometimes, that was enough. Ethan Vaughn woke to silence and soft light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. His head throbbed. His mouth tasted like regret. Fragments of the night before drifted back. The gala, the forced conversations. Too many drinks trying to dull the sharp edges of loneliness. On the chair near his door sat a folded cardigan, not his. Next to it, a small piece of paper. The handwriting was neat, purposeful. Got you home safe, no extra charge, rest well. Sofia M. Ethan stared at the note. People who saw him vulnerable usually wanted something, a favor, a connection, a way in. This woman had left nothing but kindness and a name that felt more like an afterthought than a transaction. By noon, he was standing outside Marco's diner on 5th Street. The place smelled like burnt coffee and decades-old grease. Rain had stopped, leaving the street shining and quiet. Inside, Sofia moved between tables, her pregnancy obvious now in the daylight. She wore a brown apron and moved with the careful efficiency of someone who'd learned to conserve energy. When she turned and saw him, she froze mid-step. "You're the guy from last night." "Ethan Vaughn," he said, extending a hand. "I wanted to thank you for getting me home, for the note, for this." He held up the cardigan. She wiped her hands on her apron. "Figured you'd want it back. I don't usually leave notes, but you looked like you could use some kindness. Can I buy you lunch? As a proper thank you?" Sofia shook her head. "Can't. I have a prenatal appointment at 2, and I need to finish my shift, go home, change, and get across town. They're strict about timing." She wasn't apologizing. Just explaining. "You're turning down lunch with a tech CEO to make a doctor's appointment?" "I'd turn down lunch with anyone if it meant missing that appointment," she said flatly. "This baby doesn't care about your job title." Ethan laughed, really laughed, not the polite boardroom kind. "That's refreshing," he said. "Most people would have at least pretended to consider it." "I don't have time to pretend, not about this." He looked at her differently then. Not the uniform, not the diner, not the pregnancy, just her. The woman who'd driven him home, asked for nothing, and looked at him like he was just another person. "You're not like anyone I've met," he said quietly. Sofia gave a small smile. "That's probably good for both of us." He turned toward the door, cardigan still in hand. "I'll bring this back another time." She didn't stop him. But she watched him leave, and even after the door closed, she stood there holding an empty tray, changed somehow by something she couldn't quite name. From that day forward, Ethan started requesting rides more often than necessary, not for business, just for the chance she might be the one to pick him up. More often than not, she was. Sofia never questioned it. She showed up, asked where he needed to go, and drove, sometimes across town, sometimes just around the block. Neither of them explained. Neither of them asked. In those quiet rides, something formed between them. Not attraction, not yet, but understanding. Two people from opposite worlds sharing space where pretense didn't exist. One evening, stopped at a red light, Sofia spoke. "He left when I was 5 months pregnant," she said. "Came home from my shift and half his stuff was gone. No note, no explanation, just gone." Ethan turned his head. "You were still working at 5 months?" She shrugged. "Bills don't pause for heartbreak." "What about family?" "Mom died when I was 19. Never knew my dad. There's an uncle in Boston, but we haven't spoken in years. It's just me now, me and this baby." Ethan was quiet. "That's a lot to carry alone." "You get used to it," Sofia said. "You learn how to make $20 stretch across 4 days. You learn to cry quietly so the neighbors don't hear." He didn't respond, just listened. Another day, Sofia asked, "So what about you, Mr. CEO? Big house, personal chef, probably a helicopter somewhere?" Ethan smiled. "Yeah, all that, but you know what I don't have?" "What?" "People I trust." Her smile faded. "That's worse than not having a chef." "My business partner tried to sell the company behind my back last year. 6 years of work almost gone in a handshake. My parents only call when they need me for a photo op. They don't ask how I am, just if I still look successful enough." Sofia gave a quiet nod, the kind that said, "I hear you," without needing more words. "I built something big," Ethan added softly. "But some nights it feels like a glass tower I can't escape. Everyone sees in, but nobody really gets through." "That's the loneliest kind of success," she said, barely above a whisper. Then one Tuesday, everything shifted. Sofia picked Ethan up from his office building. Her hands trembled on the wheel. Her voice sounded thin. "You okay?" he asked. No. She took a breath. Something's wrong. I've been having contractions all morning. I thought they'd stop, but they're getting closer together and I'm not due for 7 more weeks and— Where's the hospital? He interrupted, voice calm and firm. She gave him directions. Switch seats, he said. I'm driving. Ethan, you don't have to— Sofia. He looked at her. Switch seats, now. She did. He drove with steady hands and sharp focus, the way he probably ran board meetings. At the ER entrance, he helped her out, one hand supporting her elbow. I'll park and meet you inside, he said. You don't have to stay. I'm staying. 4 hours passed. Nurses called names, phones rang, machines beeped. Ethan didn't move from the waiting room chair, her cardigan, the one she'd given him that first night, folded in his lap. When Sofia finally emerged, exhausted but relieved, she saw him. You stayed, she said, voice cracking. He stood. Of course I did. Her eyes filled. No one's ever— Now someone has, he said quietly. The baby was okay. False labor, stress and dehydration. They sent her home with instructions to rest, drink water, and reduce her hours. That night, Ethan didn't leave. They sat on her worn couch, not crossing lines, just existing in the same space. For the first time in months, Sofia didn't feel alone. It started with a photo. Grainy, poorly lit. But clear enough. Ethan Vaughn leaving the hospital with a visibly pregnant woman, his hand on her back, protective and familiar. Within hours, the headlines exploded. Tech mogul's secret baby? Who is the mystery woman carrying Ethan Vaughn's child? Billionaire CEO's hidden family exposed. Sofia saw it during her break at the diner. Her stomach dropped as she read the comments. Gold digger, baby trap, probably not even his. She wanted to disappear. That evening, Ethan texted, Can we talk? They met at a quiet bookstore cafe. He was already there, baseball cap pulled low. I'm sorry, he said before she sat down. I didn't mean for this to happen. Sofia took the seat across from him. You didn't take the photo. No, but I should have known someone would, she nodded. People at work are staring. My boss asked if I was involved with someone important, like it's any of their business. I want to fix this, Ethan said, which is why I have a proposition. She blinked. What kind of proposition? Work for me, officially. As my personal assistant, the pay would be— He paused. Significantly more than you're making now. You could leave the diner, set your own hours, focus on preparing for the baby. Sofia stared. Ethan? 5 times what you make now, maybe more. Her throat tightened. She wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to. But something inside her recoiled. I can't take money from someone just because they feel guilty, she said quietly. Do you think this is guilt? He asked. Or maybe you think I'm trying to rescue you because you were kind to me once, because I owe you? She looked away. Sofia. He leaned forward. I don't want to rescue you. I want to work with you. I want someone in my life who doesn't see a bank account when they look at me. Do you know how rare that is? It feels like too much. Can I ask you something? His voice dropped. When's the last time someone asked what you wanted? Not what the baby needs, not what your job demands, just you. Sofia Morales. What do you want? Her breath caught. She couldn't remember. You've spent so long surviving, he said gently. You forgot you're allowed to want something for yourself. That broke something inside her. Sofia turned her face away, but tears came anyway. Quiet, uncontrollable. No one had ever asked her that. You make it really hard to say no, she whispered. I'm okay with hard, Ethan said softly, as long as it's real. She looked at him through blurred vision. Then let's try real. Sofia didn't say yes immediately. It took 3 days, several walks through the park, and 1 long night staring at her ceiling. But eventually, she accepted. When she showed up at his office the following Monday in black slacks and a clean blouse, Ethan just nodded, no speeches, just quiet understanding. For weeks, Sofia moved through his world, She organized meetings, managed schedules, noticed things others missed. The investor who always checked his phone during financial discussions, the junior executive who appeared uninvited to too many meetings. "You pay attention," Ethan said one day. "In my world," she replied, "missing details means missing rent." He smiled, and slowly he realized he'd come to rely on her, not just professionally but personally. Her steadiness, her honesty, the way she'd tell him when his tone was too sharp or remind him to eat lunch. But comfort breeds carelessness. One Thursday, they arrived at a high-stakes investor meeting. Sofia stood outside the conference room, organizing files. Through the door, she heard laughter, then a voice, casual and cruel. "So, Ethan, is the pregnant assistant your latest innovation, mixing business with pleasure now?" Another voice joined in. "If that's your branding strategy, I'd say it's working." More laughter. Sofia's hands clenched around the folder. She waited until the meeting ended, said nothing, drove him back to his office without a word. That night, she didn't show up for the usual evening drive. The next morning, Ethan's calls went unanswered. By the second day, he knew she'd resigned. No explanation, no goodbye. At first, confusion, then anger at himself. When his assistant mentioned the joke from the investor meeting, Ethan's stomach dropped. She thought she was just another curiosity, a temporary fixture in a world that would never take her seriously. But she was wrong. And now she was gone. Ethan sat alone in his glass office, surrounded by everything money could buy, and felt completely powerless. Because the one person who'd never wanted anything from him was the only one he couldn't convince to stay. The morning Ethan appeared at Sofia's apartment, the sky hung low and gray. He'd never been to this neighborhood. Cracked pavement, peeling paint, faded numbers on doors. He knocked twice. Sofia opened the door halfway, didn't invite him in. "Ethan," she said, "what are you doing here? I needed to see you. You left without..." "Without what? Explaining why I quit after being reduced to a punchline?" "I'm sorry about what they said. If I'd heard, I didn't leave because of what they said," she cut in. "I left because of what you didn't say." Silence. "I've spent too long being someone's afterthought," Sofia continued, voice softer now. "Someone's project. I've fought too hard to stand on my own. I don't need rescuing." "I didn't come to rescue you," he said quietly. "I came because I miss you, because I made a mistake, and because I need you, not because I'm lonely, but because I'm more myself with you than I've ever been with anyone." Her expression didn't change. "Goodbye, Ethan." She closed the door gently. 2 days later, a letter appeared under her door. Sofia didn't open it right away. She made breakfast, folded laundry, avoided it, but eventually she sat down and unfolded the paper. "Dear Sofia, I don't know if you'll read this. Maybe you'll throw it away, but there are things I need to say. I used to dream about a life where I mattered, not for what I built, but for who I was. I imagined having a family, not for appearances, for the quiet parts, someone who saw me, a child who looked at me like I was something good. When I met you, you didn't see a CEO. You saw a tired man who needed to get home, and since that night, nothing's felt the same. I don't want to fix you. I don't want to change you. I just want to know you. I miss your honesty. I miss the way you don't let me get away with anything. I miss you. If you can forgive me, I'd like a second chance, not to prove anything, just to be someone worthy of sitting across from you again. Ethan. Sofia folded the letter slowly. Later, after thinking for hours, she picked up her phone. Let's talk soon. There was never a formal conversation about what they were. It just happened. After Sofia's message, they met, talked, started spending real time together. Ethan stopped sending drivers. He showed up himself, often with coffee and that uncertain smile that only settled when she let him in. They went to the park. Walked slowly because Sofia tired easily now. He asked about the baby. She talked about her fears. One Saturday, Sofia found him in her tiny kitchen, sleeves rolled up, attempting to cook. "What are you doing?" she asked, trying not to laugh. "Trying to impress you," he said, "or at least not poison you." She joined him, showing him how to scramble eggs without burning them. They never talked about love, but it was everywhere. In the way he rubbed her feet without being asked, how she saved him the corner piece of lasagna, how he stayed later each time and never needed a reason to return. When Ethan's birthday came, Sofia asked what he wanted. "I don't celebrate," he said. "Why not?" "It's always been corporate lunches or media events. People show up because they're supposed to." She didn't argue. But that evening, he walked into her apartment to find paper streamers across the ceiling, a lopsided chocolate cake with one candle, and a handwritten card. He stared at it for a long time. "No one's ever done this for me," he whispered. "It's not much," Sofia said. "It's everything." That night, he didn't go home. They fell asleep on the couch, Sofia's head on his shoulder, the apartment smelling like chocolate and something warmer. A few weeks later, Ethan invited Sofia to his company's product launch, a high-profile event downtown. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm 8 months pregnant. I don't exactly blend in. That's why I want you there," he said. "You remind me why any of this matters." She wore a simple navy dress. Her hair fell loose. At the entrance, Ethan met her, offered his arm, and walked her inside, not as a date, as a statement. This is the person who matters. The media noticed. Within hours, headlines appeared. Ethan Vaughn's mystery date stuns at launch. Who is the woman beside the Wall Street prodigy? Sofia scrolled through one article titled "The Woman Who Changed the Coldest Man in Tech" and laughed. "You're famous again," she teased. Ethan smiled. "Not for what I built this time, for who I'm building with." That night, they sat together on her couch, city lights blinking outside. Life wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. The park hadn't changed. Same bench, same duck pond, same food truck selling mediocre sandwiches that tasted better in the open air. Sofia sat beside Ethan, 9 months pregnant now, her feet barely reaching the ground. She watched a group of kids chase pigeons. "This is where it started," Ethan said, handing her half a sandwich. "The first time I realized I could breathe again." Sofia smiled. "The day I almost went into labor from stress and you drove like a maniac to the hospital, still worth it?" "Every second." He paused, then pulled a small box from his jacket. Sofia's breath caught. Inside was a simple gold ring, one small engraving. "One day at a time." Ethan looked at her, nervous but steady. "I'm not promising perfection. I'll mess up. But I promise I'll stay, through the hard parts, the messy parts, the unknown parts." Sofia looked at the ring, then at him. "If you think I'm going to become some polished woman who fits into your world, charity galas, designer gowns, the answer is no. I don't want that," he said. "But if you want something real," she continued, "something we build from scratch, one burnt pancake at a time, then yes." Ethan let out a shaky laugh and slipped the ring on her finger. He kissed her hand. A kid ran past them, laughing. Sofia rested her hand on her belly. "Yeah," she said softly. "Let's go home." The wedding was small. Held in the garden of Ethan's house, not huge but warm. 20 guests, a few co-workers, Sofia's neighbor, the nurse from her prenatal appointments. Fairy lights in the trees, cupcakes instead of a cake. Sofia wore a thrifted dress she'd altered herself. Ethan wore no tie. What people noticed most was Ethan's mother, elegant and reserved, crying as her son read his vows. "I've made money," Ethan said, voice trembling, "but this is the first time I've made something real." Later, on the rooftop, the city lights flickered below. Ethan sat with Sofia beside him, her head on his shoulder. The sky above was wide and quiet. "You happy?" she asked. He exhaled. "I used to think I needed someone who'd push me to be sharper, do more, achieve more." He looked at her belly, where their baby kicked gently. "But what I really needed," he whispered, "was someone who made me want to be the kind of man who could be a good father." Sofia reached for his hand. No words, just warmth. And beneath the stars and the hush of a life they built together, Ethan knew he was finally home. If this story touched your heart, we'd love for you to share it with someone who needs hope today.